foolishness. It is always beginning to live. What he's calling us out here for is our perpetual attempt to finally make a change, to finally start to become the person that we know we need to be. And how do we go about this? We say next week, next month, next year, in this new year, I'm going to start out being exactly the person that I know I need to be, that I've always wanted to be, and that I'm just going to continue that way. I'm going to have my perfect life, my perfect streak. This day is done, this year is done, but next year, and tomorrow, I will achieve it. I will make another attempt. And don't we realize what happens every time we make this promise in which we say, okay, today is dead and gone. I've failed and I've been failing. But tomorrow is a new day.
Look how big is this?
And when I wake up, I'm just going to start to be the person in this new year, whatever it may be, that I've always needed to be. And what happens is we slip up something, or we don't do something to the degree that we have promised ourselves to do, and we give up. We say, oh well, I failed again, I'll try again later. And we talked about this before on this channel. Every challenge is an opportunity. But what we see challenges as are battles that we need to win. And if we fail, we have failed and we're failures. Whereas in reality, we can recognize a challenge for what it really is. An opportunity for advancement. I've said it before. In every challenge, either the challenge is overcome and we have advanced, or we failed the challenge, or we can advance towards advancement. What I mean by that is, we must finally stop to begin only to stop again. But instead, we should just continue. Let's not call this a new beginning. Let's just call it a continuation. Because everything we've been through so far, even though we have not achieved that what we really truly wanted to achieve and still want to achieve, but every single challenge has brought us closer to it. Yes, we didn't overcome the things that we want to overcome. We haven't stopped being the person that we want to stop being. But every single challenge that we, in our eyes, failed was a step closer to them. And this is exactly how every single challenge that we fail to overcome gets us to fail. It succeeds when it succeeds to make us think that today is lost and that we may get to try again tomorrow. Take a simple thing as your diet. If you want to lose weight, what you do is today you have the temptation and you give in to the temptation, as we've always done. That's why we're in need of the diet, right? And as soon as we've given in to the temptation, we count today as lost. Is that not what we do? We say, well, I've already eaten this. I've already been over my goal of my caloric intake. So I might as well just eat even more today, because today is lost. I will try again tomorrow, but today is lost. So I might as well indulge. But again, as our Roman emperor, Stoic philosopher friend Marcus Aurelius says, it's about making the best move possible. Yes, you have eaten. Yes, you have made a mistake. Yes, you have given in to something that you no longer want to give into. But there's still the best move you can make from now on for the rest of the day. And that way, yes, maybe you failed your challenge, but you have advanced towards
Oh my
advancement.
god.
So the one mentality that keeps us from achieving our goals is this: giving up on today and hoping to be able to start again, to live finally tomorrow. But another one is the past and the future. When the challenge arises, and notice how the challenge always arises within the present moment. Nothing is ever asked of you in the past, because that would be impossible. The past is gone, and the future is yet to come. So the challenge, the achievement of all of your goals, the path that leads to becoming the person that you want to become, the challenge for that, the test for that, and the point at which you make yourself that person is always the present, never the past, and never the future. But what weighs on us in the present is always the past or the future. What weighs on us in the present is never the present. It's the past or the future. Again, Marcus Aurelius says, tell me what in this present moment is so unbearable, and you will be ashamed of your answer. And it's true. Whenever the challenge arises, whenever the temptation comes, whenever that happens, what always happens, and what finally needs to stop happening, ask yourself, what in this present moment is so unbearable? What's wrong? And you will realize it's not the present moment that weighs on you. It's the past or the future. It's your past, what you regard as traumas, the things that happened beforehand that you think has made your identity, has shaped your identity. And all the regrets and the shame and the resentment that you have from the past is what is making you act in the way that you don't want to be acting in the present. Or, like you said, it's the future that makes us do these things in the present. Future worries, future anxieties, things that you anticipate will happen, but that have obviously not have happened yet, is what makes you now in the present shape that future. Everything you ever wanted to achieve, ever could possibly want to achieve, ever could possibly dream for anyone else to achieve, is always achieved in the present moment. The only time we live is now. Life is lived by one present moment after another. We cannot live in the past, we cannot live in the future. We all know this. But when it comes to it, in the exact moment, we're always weighed down by the past or the future. Have to realize that the present is literally all that anyone ever has. We all have 24 hours that consists of many, many little moments in the present, in the now. And all we ever have at our disposal to do anything whatsoever with our lives is the material of the present moment. That's all that we have. That's all that anyone has ever had to do anything, is the present moment. This one, and this one, and this one, and the next one. So we must get rid of all the things that prevent us from using the present moment. Isn't that clear enough? If all that we have is the present moment, and clearly something is in the way of us being able to use this one and only material of life, then we must get rid of whatever that is. And we just had a hint of what that might be when we talked about the past weighing on us, or the future weighing on us, either with past regrets or with future worries. But we also have to make sure that our goals, for which we only have the present moment to achieve them, are the right ones. Because it's also possible that our own being is trying to tell us that it's not right for us, that this goal we've set for ourselves, and that we keep trying to achieve, keep failing and spiraling into this, that this might not be right. There's a simple and perfect way of finding that out, and it's to go inside, to examine our own beliefs, and to ask this simple question: how many of my goals, how much of me, and how much of what I want to be is determined by my identity? How much of this and what of this am I trying to do because I'm trying to be a good husband, a good wife, a good brother, a good sister, a good friend, a good worker, because I'm trying to impress this or that person? Or what of this is me trying to live up to the fantasies that I've built up as a child? How much of this adult me is going around in the world trying to satisfy the fantasies of the 15-year-old me? How much of my life am I trying to make look like what I had imagined it would be as a child? It's amazing with how many preconceived notions and goals and ambitions we walk around that we have formed when we were a child, essentially, and how we as adults try to live up to the fantasies of a teenager, of a child. We need to drop all of that. We almost literally many times have rocks in our pockets and we're trying to swim. Those possessions that you try to get are rocks. They're weighing you down in every possible sense. You regret not having them. You worry never having them. And you spend every single present moment on somehow trying to attain them. We only have this present moment to live. What we spend this present moment on is literally everything. Our entire life is in the now. We think that the present is such a small sliver. The present moment is such a small sliver of our life because there are decades of our past and decades in our future. And it's just this one moment right now that seems so small. But all of life is contained in that one moment. We do not have another space, another time to live in. All of life takes place in this exact present moment. And everything that gets us to not be present in this present moment is everything that keeps us from living. Because if we're not living in this present moment now, we're not living at all. To spend the present moment on regrets in the past or worries in the future is to not spend it on life, on living. Go through all your ambitions all your goals and your entire identity, what you think your achievements are, what you think your traumas are, what you think in the external world has been holding you back all these years and will hold you back in the coming years, and realize all of it is self-imposed. Look around you. The world requires nothing of you. Not a single thing that you do is required by the universe, by God, whatever you want to call it. These are all self-imposed requirements. Your deadlines are self-imposed. Your worries are self-imposed. Most of your regrets are self-imposed. They don't have to be there. All the things that you need to do, and all the certain ways in which you have to do them, and all the certain times in which you have to do them by, are self-imposed requirements and obligations that come from our identity. I just said recently in a video, yes, all those bad things that happened to you in the past did happen. All the things that you feel like are holding you back, yes, they did happen. But they don't have to define you. They don't have to be your identity. When you think of yourself as that person, when you think of yourself as that victim, when you think of yourself as this disadvantaged person that's being held back by the entire world outside of them, you do nothing other than give the present moment over to the past or to the future. And that's something that you do. No one else does that. Again, no one's denying that these things have happened. That people treat people unfairly. That people lie, that people cheat, that people aim to hurt others. No one's denying any of that. But we must not add to it by making it our identity. If someone came in here right now and insulted me, it's not like I would say that didn't happen. Yes, this person came in and they said what they said. But it is on me to go around offended by that, resenting that, hating it, regretting it, getting angry at it, telling others about it, having that anger in me and that resentment and that just fury about how a person could act like this and how this is unjust and unfair and improper. I could go around the rest of my entire life doing that. And at some point, the vast majority of our regrets, of everything that we resent, is our own regret and our own misery. It's not the event itself at that point. We have regretted it, resented it, been angry at it so much, both in time and intensity, that most of what we are angry about, and most of what we resent, is actually our own anger, our own resentment. We've added so much to it that the thing has become mostly what we added to it. And so, from this day on, in this new year, stop always beginning new. Today is not lost. Tomorrow is no different than today, really. It's the present moment. Any challenge, anything that you ever need to face, you will face with the same mindset, with the same tools, in this present moment. If you can't do it now, if you feel like you can't do it now, you won't be able to do it tomorrow either. And the only way to be able to do it tomorrow is to do it in this present moment as well. It's always going to be the same challenge. It is always going to feel the same. It is always going to be just as much as difficult tomorrow as it feels like it is right this present moment. The challenger is here. The challenge is now. And it's only this present moment that you need to deal with. There is no past. There is no future. It's this one little slice of time. That is all that is ever asked of you to deal with. It's only that slice of temptation, only that slice of challenge, only that slice of difficulty that you need to deal with. Nothing else. Nothing else even exists. Let go of the past, let go of the future. The slice that is in front of you now is all that you have to deal with. And so stop beginning to live anew every single time the challenge presents itself, and simply make the very best move you can in this present moment.
Boom! Don't forget to subscribe and like the video. I hope you enjoyed. Whatever's happening, however you are, now a good time has arrived. We will bear witness to some degeneracy.
Every time you talk to someone, you spend the rest of the day thinking about it. They give you a short answer, and you think they hate you. They don't text back fast enough, and you start freaking out.
have this. Texture pack tadi. Wala pa sa silicone to. Wala pong ano. Wala. Wait, wait.
The first resource pack I'll be sharing is Mizuno 16 Craft. Mizuno 16 is a cottagecore theme resource pack with a warm and desaturated aesthetic that runs consistently throughout its textures. This pack is by far my favourite pack to build with. I love how it introduces subtle tones in blocks like the sandstone. This pack also features some beautifully painted
Virus naman to. Wala na akong nagawa. Ito na lang muna. Ito na siya. Ito na.
You are looking for reasons to think people don't like you. Every time you talk to someone, you spend the rest of the day thinking about it. They give you a short answer, and you think they hate you. They don't text back fast enough, and you start freaking out. You are looking for reasons to think people don't like you. The last 4 years of my life, I've apologized for, I think, everything. Like, just saying sorry constantly. Someone would bump into me when they could have just gone around me while I was standing still, and I'd say sorry. I would have my own opinions and strong beliefs about something, and I'd backtrack like, but I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. I would text someone, and if they didn't respond in like, I don't know, an hour, I'd convince myself they hated me. And the craziest part is I didn't realize I was doing it or it was even a problem to begin with. I just thought that's how everyone was. Like, everyone worries what people think. Everyone replays conversations in their head at 2 a.m. But then I remember this one time. I was probably 16 or 17, and I posted something on Instagram, and I had a couple followers from the school. A lot of people from a new school that I moved to. In about a day, no one liked that photo. And it was so embarrassing, and I just felt like, wow, I thought I knew these people. I took that to heart. I thought maybe, these people really don't care about me. They must hate me. Maybe I said something to a couple people to make them mad, and I don't know, maybe they just don't like me anymore. So I spent the weekend just like torturing myself. Like 2 days, I was convinced that these people who I barely even talked to, like I barely talked to these people, were judging me. Or just, didn't care. They didn't like my stuff. I didn't realize it then, but I realize it now that was a serious problem. And it definitely started when I was younger. Don't exactly know when, but it had to be elementary. I wasn't the loudest kid or like the most popular, but I was friendly with everyone. And I think that's because I was terrified of anyone not liking me. I would change how I acted depending on who I was around. If I was with one group of friends, I'd act another way. There's group A, group B, group C. I was just kind of adapting to whatever I thought people wanted from me. And for a while it worked. Middle school definitely worked. People liked me. I had friends, I fit in. But the problem was I had no idea who I actually was. Like if you asked me what my actual opinions were on anything at that point, I probably couldn't tell you. Or I probably could, but it wouldn't be my own opinions, it'd be whatever group I'm with. Because my opinions were just whatever the people around me thought. And I didn't realize how exhausting it was going to be trying to keep up with it. Because when you're constantly performing, you're like a jester, constantly monitoring yourself, worrying about how you're going to be perceived or looked at, your brain just never shuts off. Like you can't relax, you can't be present in the moment, you can't be chill. I remember being with like a group of friends, going to their house, and every interaction I had with them, I was very, I was analyzing everything. Someone would laugh at something I said, and I would spend like 10 minutes trying to figure out if they were laughing with me or at me. I had to constantly be aware of how I was coming across people. And the thing that made it worse, right, is that I was good at hiding it. Like it sounds somewhat emo, but like on the outside, I seemed fine, like confident even. But inside, dude, I was thinking about it a lot. Just constantly second guessing everything. Because there was a lot of people that I would talk to, and I was basically just performing. And so the worst part about caring too much is that you start losing yourself. And I don't mean that in like a deep philosophical way. I mean like literally you forget who you are. Because when you spend all the time trying to be what other people want, you stop knowing what you want. You stop having your own opinions, your own style, your own interest. And that was the biggest thing ever in high school. Like I had no according to some people, I had no style. I had to be like them. And another group had to be like them. Not like had to, but I wore shorts and a hoodie like all the time, and it would definitely be like picked at. But I realistically did not want to dress like the people I hanged out with, because it not my style. I'll say not my style, and I'm glad I didn't get dragged into that. But with me and a lot of people, you become this kind of blank slate that molds itself to whoever you're around. Like I'm not a mean person, but I would be mean to specific people if my friends were being mean to these specific people. But then when I'm not with that group, I'm a pretty nice guy. And I started noticing this when I'd make decisions too. Like I would try to figure out what I wanted to do with my life, and I realized I had no idea what I actually wanted. Because every decision I made was based on what other people would think. Like I remember thinking about what to major in, and my thought process wasn't, what do I want to do? It was what looks good, what looks impressive, what would, my friends think is not lame, not weird. And so I would end up choosing something I didn't even care about because it sounded good when I told people, but it really doesn't matter because I didn't go to college anyway. But it wasn't just with college, it was even jobs, hobbies. Nothing was based on what I wanted. It was all designed to get approval. And the thing is, the people whose approval I was chasing didn't even care. I was stressing about impressing people who probably didn't remember or don't remember my name. But, I convinced myself that everyone was watching. Everyone was judging. Everyone cared. When the reality is that most people are too busy worrying about themselves. And right now, I currently am too busy worrying about myself. I do not care really about other people. I don't care what they do, what they say. I'm still in the process of trying to figure out what I want to do. And apparently, I also became a people pleaser. Which, I'll be honest, at the beginning, I swear, it sounded pretty good. I thought that was a good thing. It's actually horrible. It's actually very bad. Because when you're a people pleaser, you say yes to everything. Even when you don't want to. Even when it hurts you, because saying no feels impossible. I would have friends ask me to do stuff, and I'd say yeah. Even if I was like exhausted. Even if I had other plans. Even if I genuinely didn't want to go or didn't want to do whatever it is. Because I couldn't handle the thought of disappointing people. And at first, people kind of liked that about me. At least I think. Like I was the reliable friend. The one who was always down. the one who never caused problems, the one that never said no. But over time, I realized people were kind of taking advantage of it. Like they knew I'd say yes, so they keep asking, and I'd keep saying yes, and I'd keep burning myself out. It could have been anything. I hated specific people, and when they asked me for test answers, and I had them for myself, but you know what happened? I'd give them, my little paper, and they never gave it back to me, and they kept sharing it to all their other friends, and no one gave it back to me. And that happened a lot with a lot of other things. Homework, any class assignments, you can name it, anything. At the time, I had Snapchat. Everyone added me just to kind of get my answers. That's it. But in my head, saying no meant they wouldn't like me anymore. And I have no idea why I cared. And I think the turning point had to be probably like a year and a half ago. But I was with my quote-unquote friends at like a fair, because I know like one of them. But since, I was so nice, I considered everybody my friend. And that's like 14, 15 people, when really one of them is like my really close friend. Everyone was talking to each other, cracking jokes that were very inside-like. I had no idea what they were talking about, because they have their own lives. Like, I knew these people, but I wasn't friends with them. I wasn't as close as I thought, apparently, in my head. I don't know what I was thinking. But, but it just happens when you're so nice. So I had like $200 that night. Well, after, I had $5. I played one game. And, I suck at throwing stuff. So I missed, it was like pins. Missed horribly. I was like, whatever. Because it was like $15 a game. Insane. After not talking to me for like 30 minutes, everyone asked me, can I play a game? Can I play? I said yeah. Then after the fact, everyone's done playing their games. I don't think anyone thanked me at all. I'm starting to think about it. No one thanked me. We walked around more, and it was lemonade. And apparently, it was pretty good lemonade. I say apparently because I didn't get to try any. Some person asked me, hey, can I have some money to get some lemonade? I said sure. And it was like $7. Then the next person asked me. Then the next. And I said yes to every single person. And then when I had $5 left, I couldn't even get my own lemonade. So what did I do? Nothing. I did nothing. But like there was 15 people, 8 asked me, hey, can I have some money? And then only my close friend said thank you. So I went home, looked at my wallet, saw my $5, because the $200 I had was like hard work money, but it was me helping someone. That's how I got the money. And that was like 2 days of work. Wasted. Completely wasted on people that I do not give a fuck about. But then later that night, I got a screenshot from my friend, from a group chat, and it was all of them, the people that, asked for money, basically saying that they played me like a fiddle. So I turned my phone off, I started playing Siege, and my brain started moving. The cogs started turning. And after that day, I started trying to say no. But not even with just no, even impressing people or apologizing for things that aren't my fault. And it was hard. It was way harder than I thought it would be. The first thing I did was I started noticing when I was doing it. Like every time I caught myself overthinking something or worrying about someone's thought, I would just not, I would try just to not care. But since, I'm a people pleaser, I had to take that extra step and ask myself, like, does this actually matter? Does this person matter? Does this person's opinion actually affect my life? And I'll tell you, most of the time, the answer is no. I'd be stressing about some random person I barely know. And from there, I started saying no. Like at first, I felt kind of sick. Very anxious. I was very anxious about it. Because like my brain was convinced something bad was going to happen. But nothing happened. Most people, I say most because some people do care if you say no. But most, they don't really care. Especially if they don't know who you are. They just ask someone else. Like I made the rule for myself to only say sorry if I actually did something wrong. Or I was in like the shoulder of a walkway when everything's open and someone like hits my shoulder, like slams it. Oh yeah, sorry dude. What? No. Or like just because I had an opinion. Like I had to physically stop myself from saying sorry or taking back something I said, because I did that a lot. And, slowly things would start to change. And the first thing you'd notice is that some people won't like the new version of you. Like, the people who were used to me saying yes, always going along with things or whatever it is, they didn't like that I was, standing up for myself. Basically, standing up for myself. Yeah, like, they didn't like that I wouldn't go along with their jokes. And it really shows who actually cares about you. Because the people who stuck around were the people who liked me for me, not what I did for them. I also started making, like, way better decisions. Like, I'd stop choosing things based on how they looked and start choosing things based on what I actually wanted. Me being able to chill out definitely got easier because I constantly didn't really care what I said or did. I wasn't replaying conversations in my head. I wasn't worried about every little thing. And I started being myself, like the actual version of me, not the performative, jester, basically. Because when I moved to this new school, I was trying to stand out very hard, too much. Because when I started doing that, my grades, dude, they slipped. They were getting bad. I graduated with a pretty good GPA, but freshman year, horrible. But after graduating high school, a lot of people, surprisingly, no one talked to me, except like maybe 10 people out of a lot of people that I would talk to that I thought were my friends. And that's just kind of what happens when you're so nice and you consider everyone friends. Like, even at work, oh, I talked to this person once and they were nice to me. That's my friend. No, they're not. That's a coworker just being nice. That's really it. And most of you guys are probably in school. So, in class, if someone just talks to you once, they're not your friend. You can try to be friends with them, but just know it's not a guarantee. But anyway, I used to care a lot, way too much. I hope you guys learned something about me being an idiot and being a people pleaser. It's been a while since I posted, and I'm very sorry about it. I've been so busy, unbelievably busy. But dude, videos have been doing amazing. Like, they've been doing so good. Like, every comment I get is just, it's nice, it's sweet. Like, all you guys are nice. And I just wanted to thank all the new people that subscribed and hopefully stay. And if you just got this video and you're watching it,
Millions of people find comfort in feeling sad. This special feeling is what's known as melancholy. It's the kind of sadness that feels good. So good, you begin to desire it. But the disturbing thing about melancholy that sets it apart from regular sadness is how we don't know where it comes from. We simply feel empty. And for some reason, we like it. As we'll see, the desire to be sad is a longing to understand what we're missing. It manifests as an engagement with sad media, the romanticization of suffering, and a yearning for meaning.
Before we look at the function of the desire to be sad, it's best if we understand where it comes from.
Melancholy is everywhere in Silent Hill 2, as much as the fog that fills the town's streets. In the game's opening, James Sunderland receives a letter from his deceased wife 2 years after her death, telling him to meet her in their special place somewhere in the town of Silent Hill. And although he tells himself she's dead and can't possibly be there, he goes looking for her anyway, as if he doesn't believe what he already knows. But what if I told you Silent Hill's incredibly famous premise is also the premise of Sigmund Freud's paper, Mourning and Melancholia? Freud makes the radical claim that mourning and melancholia are both approaches to loss, but he specifically sees melancholia as a failure to mourn. The mourning process means coming to accept that the person or thing we love is gone forever. Everything in the world reminds us of them. We might even feel their presence. Freud wrote that for mourning to be successful, we must retract our attachment to the deceased each time a memory surfaces, until our grief no longer consumes us. Images rush in to fill the gap left by their absence. It's an unbearably painful process that lasts for years. We used to think you could die from. Nobody questions why you feel sad after losing someone or something you love. By contrast, even we can't quite pinpoint why we feel sad and melancholy. One may know they have lost someone, but, Freud writes, only in the sense that he knows whom he has lost, but not what he has lost in him.
This is the most important thing I've said so far.
Maybe something like looking at your baby photos hits you harder than you expected. You know what's changed. Obviously, you've grown up, but you're not sure why it hurts so much. You feel melancholy. Loss doesn't only involve people. Animals, objects, periods of your life, and purpose can all be loved and lost. Because there's something more to these things than just the person or thing we've left behind.
I'll help you understand what that is throughout this video.
Of course, when you want to be sad, you consciously or subconsciously search it out, but little attention has been paid to how that's accomplished. Sad media is one outlet. Tragedy becomes so attractive because fictional losses act as a mirror. And if you're anything like me, melancholy also means romanticizing the world around you, your emotions. Things seem prettier when you're sad. Both of these are ways of coping with loss. They both also fit neatly into psychoanalyst Jacques Lacan's idea of the symbolic register. The symbolic is the realm of representation. While it mostly concerns language, it also encompasses the laws and social conventions one is born into. It's one of 3 domains of psychic life. There's also the imaginary, which has to do with our self-image and perception of others, and the real, that which cannot be represented or understood. All 3 have something to tell us about the desire to be sad.
Drawing on the linguist Ferdinand de Saussure, Lacan taught that the spoken and written word are just 2 means of representation.
Words are what Saussure and Lacan called signifiers, a material way of representing a concept. But words aren't the only signifiers. Sign language, for example, doesn't have words. The 1992 documentary Baraka has no voiceover and still manages to make a point. Movies, melodies, and art help us grasp what we can't put into words.
What I want to emphasize is the role representation has in melancholy.
Keeping in mind that melancholy centers around an unrepresentable loss. In Martin Scorsese's Taxi Driver, a Vietnam veteran takes on the night shift for a taxi service while suffering from insomnia. But he becomes increasingly disgusted with the people he sees on the streets at night. Disdain colors his view of the whole world. He writes about his ensuing loneliness with great detail in a journal, but there's something about it all he can't articulate. His entries are seemingly unable to get directly to the heart of what he's lost. In one scene, Travis asks a friend for advice, but when he tries to explain his problem, he's entirely unable to. His friend's advice is consequently useless, and Travis is left alone with his melancholy. On his TV appearance in 1974, Lacan claimed that depression arises from a failure to articulate oneself. The same is true of melancholy. None of us choose the language we learn to speak. The methods of navigating existence given to us by our parents and culture do not have our names signed at the bottom. The forms of representation available to us come from other people. And yet, in cases like the desire to be sad, we cannot fully express what we're going through. There's an incompleteness in our language. An existing void is torn wider. Lacan understood that the fundamental psychological conflict is between language and the body. If one complains about a lack of meaning in one's life, it's because the structures that sustain meaning have collapsed. The melancholic feel sad because they lack the symbolic resources to work through their feelings. I remember when someone close to me was suffering from depression, he would hardly speak a word. At best, he would answer, probably, to any questions until he was left alone. This is what Lacanians call an empty discourse, and it invades the body through emotions like melancholy. Psychoanalysts know that every emotion says something. It's yet another form of expression, only our emotions can't use words. I am sad because that is what emotions are dying to tell us. We always feel more than we can express. We might react to the emotional uncertainty by looking for others to tell us what we feel. Fiction can represent things for us that we're unable to. So we probe for answers in art, movies, music, and so on. We make ourselves sad, hoping we'll uncover the truth. It's a comforting process. Ask someone about their desire to be sad, and comfort is the word that comes up time and time again. But it doesn't work. There's more to this problem. But first, we need to thank Headspace for sponsoring this video. There was a moment writing this video that I could have died. I'd become so distracted with my research that I stopped doing some of the things you're supposed to when you're type 1 diabetic. And so in a staggering 3 days, the sugar content in my blood was so high it became acidic. I drove myself to the ER after an entire night spent throwing up. But if I had hesitated, my death wasn't off the table. I spend every day mindfully considering existential topics such as death and the horror of having a body. Because of that mindfulness, I was able to handle this emergency well emotionally. Headspace is an app that can help you cultivate a similar mindfulness. It has solutions for stress, poor sleep, and lack of focus in the form of breathing exercises and guided meditation. I've been using Headspace for the past month, and I was surprised how much their breathwork exercises, just 5 minutes of comfortable, deep breathing, made every day. The app provides a daily set of meditations and exercises for you, but you can also select your own. If you've ever wanted to try meditating like I did, Headspace makes it easy. And you can try it out completely for free for 60 days. This is a limited time offer that's way longer than their 1-week trial. All you have to do is sign up using the link in my description or scan the QR code currently on screen. Loss doesn't just strike at the symbolic. It poses problems for the imaginary too. There's a scene in Shakespeare's comedy Twelfth Night in which Jester is threatened with his dismissal unless he can make the Countess Olivia laugh. Her brother is dead, and the Countess is in mourning. He tells her he thinks her brother is in hell, to which she insists he's in heaven.
All through Madonna to mourn for your brother's soul being in heaven,
he says, and the Countess laughs. Why bother grieving someone we know is at peace? Lacan dares to point out that there's something self-centered about mourning. Grief isn't always for the dead. We grieve ourselves. When you lose someone you love, you also lose a part of yourself. To lose a child is to likewise lose your role as that child's mother or father. This part of the mourning process might look like keeping that child's room clean, setting a seat for them at the dinner table, or keeping up other parental duties at first. But eventually, we let ourselves lose the responsibilities we once had. But the melancholic isn't aware they've lost this part of their self. When there's a malfunction in the symbolic, there's also usually a problem in the imaginary, a crisis of self. As I explained before, signifiers represent concepts. These concepts exist in the imaginary. What we call a self-image is, in fact, the concept one has of oneself. On Lacan's diagram of the 3 registers, he attributes meaning to both the symbolic and the imaginary. In this sense, seeing your feelings represented by other people is comforting, but it does more than offer comfort. It tells you who you are. Sometimes we need to learn what mourning looks like before we can begin. The psychoanalyst Darian Leader describes watching others mourn their losses as a way of enabling us to process our own. Perhaps this is one reason why people can feel devastated after a public figure they knew nothing about passes away. In the Iliad, after the warrior Patroclus dies, the people gather to mourn him openly, including those who never knew him. We read that the women cry, each one for their own sorrows, and the men, each one remembering what they had left at home. Similarly, in Fight Club's first act, we watch as the narrator can only process his emptiness in support groups for people with life-threatening conditions, despite not sharing their problems. When a woman very obviously not suffering from testicular cancer begins to attend the meetings, he loses the ability to grieve. The same extends to our relationship with fiction. When the first episode of Mark Frost and David Lynch's Twin Peaks aired on television on April 8, 1990, an estimated 24.6 million people sat down to watch. The show's pilot would become one of the most famous episodes in the history of television. I genuinely think about this show almost every day.
she's dead, wrapped in plastic.
In a small Washington town, the homecoming queen Laura Palmer is found dead on a rocky beach, wrapped in plastic. She's been murdered. The opening episode shows us the effect her unexpected loss has on the community. It feels so hauntingly human. It's heartbreaking. But the reason I feel sad watching it isn't because I care about Laura Palmer. At this point, she's little more than a name to a body. It's because the examples of these characters and this community give me a way to reflect on my own experiences with loss. But the other's mourning can act as an imaginary route for the subject, but not more than that, Leader writes. Associating with the melancholic experiences of others, effectively saying, I'm melancholic too, actually doesn't bring us any closer to escaping these feelings. The only signifier that often seems available to someone with melancholy or some other chronic sadness is their condition.
As someone who's been diagnosed with depression, I know that in our darkest hours, we might simply default to talking about our discomfort as being depressed,
instead of voicing intimate details about what we're going through. Such labels provide comfort and a valuable sense of identity, but the desire to be sad is likely to persist. Another behavior associated with the desire to be sad is romanticization of pain and loss.
Throughout history, melancholy was associated with a manic creative state, an obsession with art and beauty. That mania describes what happened to me during one of the hardest periods of my life. I'm actually sort of scared to tell you about it, but that's the point, isn't it?
I grew up Mormon. When I turned 18, I signed up to be a missionary. I was assigned to Northern California. I served for 5 months. Usually, a mission lasts 2 years for a man, but the pandemic interrupted mine in March 2020, and I was sent home early.
My mission was one of the most disappointing and melancholic periods of my life. For years, I had nightmares in which I was forced to go back.
Notice how everyone is grouped close together, and then I'm way off here, almost out of frame? There's a reason for that. I felt like I didn't belong. Being a missionary meant spending hours every day knocking on doors, proselytizing, and chasing leads.
A lot of effort and routine with no results.
I spent every night of those 5 winter months wandering the streets of 90 suburban neighborhoods in the fog. I feel, even now, like it was a long dream. I looked into the endless lit windows and yearned to sit down inside. It never rained. It was just the months-long dripping. That's how I remember it. You can see my mental health worsening in these pictures just from my face.
Through it all, I kept a journal. I wrote almost 1,000 pages during those 5 months, which was odd because there was almost nothing worth writing about.
What's more, I insisted on writing my journal like a novel. I wanted to appreciate what I was doing like it was a work of art. When California was put into quarantine, I was locked in a rotting corpse of a house with nothing to do until I was sent home early. I slept through most of those couple of weeks, taking more and more melatonin and staring at the ceiling fan when my body screamed no more. I had stopped writing. I had been looking for a reason to be out there, searching for it through my writing. I still believed in God, so I believed there was an indisputable reason for being there. But there wasn't one.
The only meaning I found came from the act of writing itself.
So although I was depressed, it's like I didn't know it. I hid it behind 1,000 pages of fanciful prose. Everything I wrote was lyrical to the point it became disgusting to read. This is what Lacan ironically calls jouissance, a pun combining jouissance and sens, bodily enjoyment, from the masturbatory use of language. But if the experience wasn't as hauntingly mundane, I don't think I would have felt a need to force it to be interesting.
I didn't realize it until years later, after I had already left the church. But that's why I wrote the way I did. Writing my journal like a novel was a way for me to distance myself from the sadness I felt. Writing is what kept me stable. It sustained me. When I stopped, it debilitated me.
With nothing to hold it back, the emptiness consumed me.
The point of my story isn't about knocking on doors, or even about being Mormon.
It's about how we use language to grapple with unbearable realities. Certain forms of media, slow, haunting music, tragic films, melancholic literature, can all serve as a way of externalizing sadness in a beautiful form. The beauty of tragedy advances the plot. It's a symbolic byproduct of structure imposed on the chaos. Such beauty might be the only thing conferring any meaning at all to a forlorn and incomprehensible situation. You have to be careful meddling with something like that. But this romanticization is another trap. Beautiful sadness is still sadness. We'll need more to escape our despair.
Something I understood years after my experience as a Mormon missionary is that melancholy isn't only about what was lost in the past, but also what's lacking in the present. We might lose interest in the things we care about when we feel the desire to be sad. Melancholy is largely inhibitory, a silence that insists upon itself, a what's the point in even trying? This is the third and final characteristic of the desire to be sad I'll discuss with you before we hear Lacan's solution.
You ever yearn? Yearn? I yearn. You yearn? Oh, yes. Often I sit and yearn.
I crave. Constant craving. I haven't yearned.
Lacan's theories on desire are rather remarkable. By desire, he means something other than our biological needs. You can think of it as yearning instead of craving. Desire begins with lack. It begins with being told we can't have something. Even though we fantasize about being loved by a certain person, doing great things, or getting something we want, the desire behind all desires is the desire for a sense of completion, the fulfillment we need to heal our inescapable lack. When Freud says the melancholic might know who they've lost, but not what they've lost in him, Lacan answers that what we've lost is something we never had. My experience would seem to agree that the same process Freud outlines for mourning occurs in melancholy. We never escape the ghost of our loss. Fonder memories are all we can think about. But the two aren't the same. As Darian Leader puts it, in mourning we slowly detach ourselves from the dead. In melancholia, we attach ourselves to them. Lacan's stance is even more extreme. Not only do we attach ourselves to what we've lost, melancholy is an identification with loss itself. This is why melancholia feels endless. You become your own nothingness.
In his sixth seminar, Lacan says that we must reconstitute our lack in order to find meaning again.
That's the solution. Let's break that down. Escaping melancholy requires re-establishing what you've lost as something impossible. You probably feel as though you'll never be whole again. That's because you've associated the sense of completion you yearn for with the one you've lost. But you were never whole to begin with. Lacan's remarks imply that we never get over a loss, and that's kind of the point. He shares this with the later Freud. In 1920, 3 years after publishing Mourning and Melancholia, Freud lost his favorite daughter Sophie to the Spanish flu. This devastated him and his wife. He really never got over her death. 9 years later, Freud wrote to a friend that we can never find a substitute after a loss. No matter what may fill the gap, even if it be filled completely, it nevertheless remains something else. And actually, this is how it should be. It is the only way of perpetuating that love which we do not want to relinquish. Mourning requires the acknowledgement that all desire is for something we'll never have. For life to have meaning again, you must live as if you're missing something. And we do that first by naming our loss. Lacan tells us that we have to be well-spoken about loss, to give it a place in the symbolic, to make room for lack. In Silent Hill 2, James sees Mary everywhere in the fog. Travis in Taxi Driver makes loss his whole identity. And in Twin Peaks, everyone obsesses over Laura, not necessarily to solve her murder, but to make sense of what her death reveals in them. The point isn't to fill that hole, it's to name it. Every desire is a dissatisfaction. Let yourself be broken.
For years after my mission, my depression worsened. It got to the point where I wished I would cease to exist. That's when I wrote my video on the desire to not exist. I was diagnosed by my doctor with depression and given antidepressants, but something strange happened. I felt unbelievably happier long before they had a chance to kick in. I didn't think much of it at the time, but now I think I know why. Writing that video allowed me to process the pain of my mission in California, to understand why it was painful. The nightmares stopped.
Is there a cure for depression? That much is unknown. But we must believe in a cure for the depression we feel today. The depression of today is not the depression of tomorrow. The desire to be sad doesn't need to be a bad thing. Now you know that it signals something deeper. Now you can use it to ask the right questions. Let your pained soul speak, and thereby begin to mourn the losses that motivate your desire to be sad.
I want to ask you something, and I need you to be honest. Not with me, I don't matter here, but with yourself. Do you actually like yourself? Not love. I'm not asking about love. That's too big, too complicated, too loaded with all this self-help baggage. I'm asking something simpler. Do you like yourself as a person? Like if you met yourself somewhere, would you want to hang out with that person? Would you think they're interesting, worth knowing? Someone you'd choose to be around? Or would you look for an excuse to leave? Because I've been sitting with this question for a while now, and I don't think I like myself. Not really. not underneath everything. And the fucked up part is I didn't even realize that until recently, because I've spent years doing all the right things. Self-improvement, working on myself, setting goals, trying to be better, and I thought that meant I cared about myself. I thought that was self-love or whatever, but it wasn't. I wasn't trying to become a better version of myself, because I valued who I was. I was trying to become someone else entirely, because I couldn't stand who I was right now. And those are not the same thing at all. Let me try to explain what I mean, because I don't think I'm saying this right. You know how people talk about self-improvement? Work on yourself, invest in yourself, become the best version of yourself. And it sounds healthy, right? Sounds like something a functional person would do. But what if every goal you set is actually just a list of things you hate about yourself? What if become better actually means become someone different, because who you are now is garbage? That's not growth, that's escape, that's running away from yourself and calling it progress. And I did that for, I don't even know how long actually. Years probably. Going to the gym not because I enjoyed it, but because I hated looking at myself. Trying to be more social, not because I valued connection, but because I thought being quiet meant being broken. Reading self-help not because I wanted wisdom, but because I thought I needed to be fixed. Every single thing that looked like self-improvement was actually just me trying to run. Trying to become someone, anyone, other than who I was. There was this moment, and it's kind of embarrassing, but whatever. I'd say I hit a goal, a big one, something I'd been working toward for months, and I remember thinking, okay, this is it. This is where I finally feel okay about myself. This is where all the work pays off. And I felt good for like a day, and maybe less. Then it faded, and I was right back where I started. Same emptiness, same not enoughness, same looking for the next thing to fix. So I thought, okay, that goal wasn't big enough, I need a bigger one. So I set a bigger goal, hit that too, same thing happened, brief satisfaction, then nothing, then searching for the next fix. It was like, I don't know, like trying to fill something that has a hole in it. You keep pouring stuff in, but it keeps draining out. And all the achievements in the world won't plug that hole, because the hole was that I didn't like myself. And I was trying to fix that by becoming someone else. But becoming someone else doesn't make you like yourself. It just makes you someone else who still doesn't like themselves. I didn't get that for a long time. Longer than I want to admit. I started paying attention to how I talk to myself. Not out loud, just the voice in my head. The constant commentary on everything I do. And it was brutal. Like actually cruel. Things I would never say to another person. Every mistake, no matter how small, that voice would go in. Of course you did that. You always do that. What's wrong with you? Every time I looked in the mirror, something to criticize. You look tired. You look like shit. No wonder nobody likes you. Every comparison to someone else, a reminder of how behind I was. Look at them. They have it figured out. You never will. And I thought that was just normal. I thought everyone's brain worked like that. I thought that was just what thinking sounded like. But then I noticed how I talked to other people. Friends, family, even strangers sometimes. I was patient with them, kind, understanding. I gave them grace when they messed up. I didn't call them pathetic when they struggled. So why was I doing that to myself? Because I didn't think I deserved what I gave to others. Simple as that. I thought I needed to be harsh with myself. I thought cruelty was motivation, but it wasn't motivating me. It was just making me hate myself more. And then I tried to fix that by improving more, and the voice would find new things to criticize forever. There's this lie that people tell, that you should use self-hatred as fuel. Get angry at yourself. Use that anger to change. And it works, kind of. For a while, you can absolutely hate yourself into the gym, hate yourself into productivity, hate yourself into whatever goal you're chasing. But the hatred doesn't leave when you get there. It just finds something else, new flaws, new targets, because it was never about the goal. It was about you, and you're still there no matter what you achieve. I've seen people transform everything about their lives and still hate themselves, still feel not enough, still chasing, because they built everything on self-hatred, and that foundation doesn't just disappear. If you hate yourself thin, you'll be thin, and still hate yourself. If you hate yourself successful, you'll be successful and still hate yourself. You can't hate yourself into liking yourself. That's not how it works. That's never how it works. But I didn't understand that. I thought if I fixed enough things, eventually I'd earn the right to be okay with who I was. Someone asked me once, genuinely asked, what do you like about yourself? And I just froze. I could list things I was good at, skills, accomplishments, stuff I'd achieved, but that's not the same thing. That's what you do, not who you are. When I tried to think of things I liked about who I actually was as a person, without the achievements, without the usefulness, without what I could do for others, nothing. I had nothing. And that messed me up for a while, because I realised I'd spent my whole life building skills and achievements as a way to compensate for not liking who I was underneath. Like if I could be good enough at things, maybe people wouldn't notice there wasn't anyone worth knowing under all of it. I was building a resume instead of a person. And without all that, without the productivity and the usefulness and the skills, who was I? What was left? Why would anyone, including me, want to be around that person? I didn't have an answer. Still don't really, but I'm starting to look for one. This affected how I related to people too. And I didn't see it for a long time. I wasn't really connecting with anyone. I was performing, trying to be useful, valuable, whatever they needed me to be. Because if I didn't like myself, why would anyone else like me for who I actually was? They wouldn't, obviously, so I had to give them something else. Help, entertainment, validation, something that earned their presence in my life. And I got good at it, reading people, figuring out what they wanted, shape-shifting into whatever version of myself would be most acceptable. But it was exhausting and empty, because even when people liked me, they didn't really like me. They liked the performance, the mask, and that meant I could never feel close to anyone. There was always this gap, this knowledge that if they really knew me, the actual me, they'd leave. So I kept performing, kept everyone at a distance while pretending to be close, all because I assumed I wasn't worth knowing without the mask. This is also why compliments never landed. Someone would say something nice and I'd immediately dismiss it, deflect, explain why they were wrong, or assume they were just being polite, didn't really mean it, because if I didn't like myself, anyone who claimed to like me was either lying or hadn't seen the real me yet. Once they did, they'd change their mind, obviously. So every compliment bounced off, every kind word got filtered through. They don't really know me. And I stayed stuck, convinced I was unlikable, defending that belief against any evidence that might contradict it. Which is insane when I think about it. I was so committed to hating myself that I wouldn't let anyone else feel differently. But in a weird way, it was comfortable, familiar. I knew how to be the person who wasn't good enough. I'd been that person my whole life. What would I even be if I wasn't that? The unknown was scarier than staying stuck. There's another layer too. I thought I was being humble. Self-deprecation felt like modesty. Thinking poorly of myself felt like being realistic, grounded, not arrogant. But there's a difference between humility and self-hatred. Humility is knowing you're not perfect and being okay with that. self-hatred is knowing you're not perfect and punishing yourself for it. Constantly. I wasn't being humble, I was being cruel to myself and calling it virtue. And I think society kind of encourages this. We're uncomfortable with people who openly like themselves. We call them arrogant, full of themselves, but people who put themselves down, relatable, humble, likable. So I performed self-deprecation because it was acceptable. And eventually the performance became real. I wasn't pretending to not like myself anymore. I actually didn't. So what do you do about this? I don't have a clean answer. I'm still in it. Still figuring it out. But I can tell you what I've been trying. First thing was just noticing. Paying attention to the voice. Catching myself being cruel. Not trying to change it yet. Just seeing it. Because I'd gotten so used to the constant criticism that I didn't even hear it anymore. It was just background noise. So I started actually listening. Started catching the moments when I called myself stupid or worthless or pathetic. And asking, would I say this to someone I cared about? No. Then why am I saying it to myself? That alone changed something. Just the awareness. Second thing was trying to separate who I am from what I do. I'd spent so long tying my worth to productivity, achievements, usefulness, that I didn't know who I was without all that. So I started asking, who am I when I'm not doing anything? When I'm not achieving? When I'm not useful to anyone? And at first the answer felt like nothing, empty. But when I sat with it longer, stopped running from the question, I started finding small things, stupid things, like I kind of enjoy watching rain. Like I have this weird sense of humour that only makes sense to me. Like I notice things other people miss. Like I think about stuff too deeply even when it would be easier not to. None of that is productive. None of it goes on a resume. But it's me. The actual me. And when I looked at that person, the real one, I didn't hate them as much as I thought I would. Third thing was stopping the improvement treadmill. Just for a bit, not forever. Growth is fine, but I needed to break the cycle of I'm not okay until I'm better. So I stopped setting goals for a while. Stopped treating myself like a project. Just existed. Let some days be unproductive. Didn't punish myself for it, and it felt wrong, irresponsible, lazy. All the words I was scared of, but it also felt like putting down something heavy I'd been carrying for years. I didn't have to earn my own approval. I could just be. And maybe that could be enough. Fourth thing was trying to treat myself like I treated people I cared about. When a friend made a mistake, I didn't call them pathetic. I gave them grace. So why couldn't I do that for myself? I started trying. When I fucked up, instead of you're so stupid, I tried, okay, that sucked, but you're human and humans mess up. It felt fake, forced, like I was lying to myself, but over time the cruel voice got quieter. Not gone, but not as loud. I want to be clear, I'm not saying I like myself now. I haven't figured this out. I still have days where the old voice is back full force. Still catch myself setting goals from self-hatred. Still struggle with compliments. Still perform for people. This doesn't go away overnight. Maybe it never fully does. Maybe it's just something you manage. But something has shifted. I'm not running as hard. Not trying to become someone else with the same desperation. I'm trying to just exist as I am. Messy and flawed and imperfect, and see if maybe that person is okay. If you're doing self-improvement because you genuinely want to grow, because you're excited about becoming more of who you already are, that's good. Keep doing that. But if you're doing it because you hate yourself, because you can't stand who you are now, because you're trying to escape, that won't work. I tried. For years, you can't hate yourself into liking yourself. You can't run from yourself and find yourself at the finish line. At some point you have to stop. Look at who you actually are. and find something, anything that you like about that person. Not what they've accomplished, not what they can do, just to them. And that's hard, maybe the hardest thing. But you don't have to earn the right to like yourself. You don't have to become someone else first. You can start now. As you are, I'm still working on it. Still failing half the time. But I'm trying. I believe in you. Now believe in yourself.
Hello everybody. Today I got an interesting topic. Since my channel is mainly stuff I want to talk about personally, I feel like this one really connects to me. I tried to figure out how I want to start this video, how I want to talk in this video, but I think the way I want to talk in this video is the way I would talk to myself. And typically the way I talk to myself is kind of blunt. Because, well, what? Look at that! While I talk, I'm going to adventure somewhere. I don't know where to go, but I think I'll go up here. So, we're going to see what goes on. What are you looking at? Stay down. Now, I've been through middle school and I've been through high school. And I'm assuming by analytics and comments, that is the average age of my viewers. Or in some cases, it's still college or even older. But most of the time, it's people around my age. Like, I'm 17 right now. I'm about to be 18 in 20 days. Ain't that crazy? Or 20-something days. I didn't look at the date or nothing. I don't know what day it is. Because I will be 18 by the end of the month. What is that? When you're like 16, 15, even 17, you don't realize how weird it is to say that you're about to be 18. It is a weird feeling. Like, during those times, like, oh yeah, I'm gonna be 18. Like, 2 years, something, whatever, later. And then you're actually about to... But that's a video for another day, because that will be talking about responsibilities. And that will be coming in my life like a train. And I'm not going to be ready for that. But it is what it is. So let me ask you. Do you like the way you look? It's either yes or no. Even if you feel... Alright? Even if you feel good about yourself already, I'd still recommend watching this. For the sake of learning, and also for my retention, so it can help. That'd be awesome. Let's start with why. What do you see about yourself that is ugly? Or not to your liking? Anything. There's some things that I don't even know what you would not like about yourself, and it would be so unnoticeable, right? I can't see you, and you can't see me. I'm just a kid talking in Minecraft. I'm gonna die. I'm unprofessional. Maybe things I'm saying could make it worse on you, right? But yet again, these are my feelings and my channel, and it's based all around my feelings. But these are from my personal beliefs, right? Personal. But let's go deeper into the why you think this specific part of yourself, or it could be more. You know, it could be all around. Why do you think that? Well, it could be many reasons. One, you saw someone online, you're like, wow, I wish I looked like them. But let me tell you, some people that will see that same person that you saw and you think they look good, some people would not like how they look. I personally feel like social media has brought down a lot of people, how they think about themselves, how they think they look. You know, I'm one of those people. I personally believe that. Online, I feel like there's a lot of beauty standards that people make that are completely outrageous. Everyone has their own opinions. Beauty itself is subjective. I think it changes all the time. I'm trying to speak in between about this because I'm a guy. Experiences are very different, even with individual people. Doesn't matter gender, but at the same time, it's like very drastically different, even though it's based off my experience. During middle school, I used to think I was just flat out ugly. Like, I thought I was so ugly. And hold on, and I'm saying thought, like randomly one day I just knew, like, oh well, I actually really look good, or like I got a bunch of compliments one day, or a bunch of people started liking me. That was not the case. I just had to learn on my own that, you know, I like the way I look and I really don't care. And that is a very tough pill to swallow. That is a very hard thing to come to. It's not easy. I felt different about everything probably during my sophomore year of high school, right? From 7th grade to sophomore year, what, 10th? And the reason for that is because, well, I just met a lot of people. A lot of people. And when you meet a lot of people, you kind of see things differently. You see people differently. You know, during that time, you really don't, or at least shouldn't, care about looks. Because during the time, I didn't like the way I looked. You know, of course, there are people, yeah, that didn't like the way I looked. Some people won't like the way you look. And that's okay. Because there will be some people that do like the way you look. Now, let's be honest. At least for some people, this might be true. you've definitely probably seen someone, you know, and you think, wow, I look better than them, but they have what I want. And maybe it's not the exact people or things that you want, but, you know, it's the general idea that they have this, they have that, and they're happy. You know? Why am I not happy? Because you're focusing too much on the outside. You'll see people with amazing personalities, and everybody will love them, no matter how they look. And a lot of people will probably not like them. I can't stress about the fact that if you hear from one person telling you something, right? Maybe it's also another person. Maybe another. If you're getting called by a group, you know, you're ugly or something, anything, it's made fun of. Try to think as that group as just one person. Realistically, it's just followers. There's realistically one leader in that group, and everyone else is going to follow and do it. So it's just one person, but just the other people just kind of, you know, dick riding it. So don't feel too bad, because I personally have gone through that, but yet again, there's also other groups that would never say that to me because they just like how I am. And so I just never cared what anybody thought. And that itself is a hard thing. And I'll be very realistic. It's not that easy to change the way you think. It's not. If you have an opinion about yourself and like you really just don't like yourself, it's going to be hard to get out of that. If it's something you can't change about yourself, then it's something you just can't get out of. And obviously with this one video, I'm not expecting hundreds of people to flood my comments and say, man, you really changed the way I think about myself and how I look. When the fact is, I don't even know what you look like. And I'm not speaking to you. I'm speaking to a general audience. I would at least like you to, you know, see this video and think about it. Why do you really not like yourself? Do you just look in the mirror and you see just this one part, or like as a whole, right? And you're just like, wow, I don't like myself. Well, what's the steps after that? Are you going to continue just shitting on yourself and be sad and accept fate and reality that you are just one ugly motherfucker? No. The way you think or how you feel about yourself affects everything around you. Even if you don't think it, it really does. It can affect the way you talk to people. It can affect your confidence, which I personally believe is the biggest thing that like is affected. You've probably scrolled on Instagram or somewhere on TikTok and you've probably seen someone, you know, wearing something crazy or something, you know, that you personally believe that doesn't look good on them or anything. Like, wow, they don't look good. No, like, you know, you're just kind of shitting on, you know, like a cringe TikTok, something. And you're probably thinking, well, how do they have the confidence to, you know, wear that or even like look like that just and post themselves? Well, they have confidence. They don't care what other people think, and they just love themselves, and that is what's gonna drive them forward to want to keep doing things. Now, obviously, I'm not just shitting on people. I'm saying this in like the way a lot of people would think, at least of what I've seen. Now, let's get into the more juicier things, as I'd like to say, because realistically, if you know you're maybe around my age, or you could be older, way older, or you could be a lot younger, you want the looks to want someone. Maybe you'd want a boyfriend, or maybe you'd want a girlfriend. What I would like to say is that I wouldn't force yourself into getting a relationship, or at least every day working to get a relationship. The best thing that can ever happen to you is when it comes naturally. There are many other things to be worrying about, a lot of other things to be worrying about, other than you wanting to get in a relationship. What I think you should change is finding that confidence, you know, in yourself to talk to anybody. Not in a flirtatious way, but in a way where people would see that you are actually pretty confident with yourself. Because that is very attractive. There are many other things than just the outside. Unless you get, you know, plastic surgery or things that you alter, there's a shot that some things you just can't change about yourself. And some things you can, and I'm going to get to that in a minute. But yeah, some things you just can't change. But what are you going to do? Me growing up, I really did think that my life would be over based off my appearance, on how I looked from head to toe. I thought, wow, like how am I going to be happy? I hate the way I look. I'm sure other people look at me and think, wow, that dude's an ugly piece of shit. And it took me a long time, and it obviously might take you a little longer to understand things. That the world doesn't revolve around how you look. Of course, your world does, and so did mine. But when it comes to real life, you know, when it comes to jobs, when it comes to school, you know, doing your work, the more negative you are about yourself, you know, you're just dragging yourself down. You're dragging your full potential down. Everybody has potential, no matter what. The more I keep talking, the more I keep looping back to the fact that there are a lot more things in life than just looks. There's so many more important things, and there's more things that even people find more important. Don't think just because of the way you look doesn't mean you can't like have friends or you can't connect with people. If you're someone that says you're lonely all the time, right? Think about maybe why are you lonely? That's kind of, you know, like a hard thing to say, but think about it. Why are you? Maybe it's because you're ugly. Let's throw that out the window, okay? Think of other reasons why. Because I promise you, that is not the reason why you are lonely or why you can't have friends or why you, I mean, if you want to, be with someone, you know? That is not stopping you. And that's not where you just stop yourself. And it's like I say, friendships will find you. You know, relationships will find you. What I want you to do is form your own opinions, right? Let's just say that a bunch of people, you know, find this one person in particular very beautiful or handsome, whatever the word you might want to use, but you kind of don't. But since everyone else does, you kind of think, wow, maybe they are, maybe I just don't understand. like I don't really think they look all that, but since everyone else kind of does, I guess it's true that, yeah, they do look all that. It's like circling right back. It's all subjective. There are online models that you'd see, and you personally wouldn't think that they would have an issue with themselves. You think, wow, they must really be confident with themselves. They must really love themselves. But at the same time, it's not always true. There's been times that, you know, models, the people that are above everything, as in like society standards of like beauty, they are just everything. They themselves do not like the way they look. At least some of them do. Imagine being watched every day and having to be careful with what you do because that might affect your entire career. Have you ever seen someone, you know, same gender as you or maybe different, it doesn't really matter, and you thought, wow, they look pretty good, but they're just complete dicks, right? Well, other people are gonna notice that and not like that person, no matter how they look. Maybe some people will, but a lot of people are gonna think, wow, they are just like an actual dick. Like, I do not like them. And obviously you'll notice and experience that more in high school. And even if you're past that, then you'll see that in every aspect of life. I personally think that instead of worrying about yourself so much and quote unquote accepting the fact that things are over, work on yourself. You know, on the inside, personality wise, become the best you. Happiness is what drives you to be you. If you're just sad all the time, that will lead to a lot of problems. You won't want to talk to anybody. You won't want to do anything. People love expressive people no matter what they do or what they talk about. The fact that they are expressing themselves, people like that. If, of course, you guys have the same personality. But people love when people express themselves. People don't like is when people just keep themselves shelled, kind of covering themselves. And again, if you're someone that wants to be more attractive, try working on things that you can control. You want to see things differently. Maybe work on your personality, of course, like I said. What I would start doing is I would start listening to other people, or at least get to know other people. You'll find people that just don't want to talk to you, but there will be a lot of other people that do want to talk to you, or that could carry on a conversation. And this is kind of leading to like the last things I want to say, which I like how I said it. Just work on the things you can work on. Hygiene, big thing. You can work on that. I don't know why I said it like that, but yeah, like it's, you know, keep yourself clean, smell good. You don't even have to smell like anything. Maybe smell like nothing, which isn't bad at all. Or you can smell good. What you don't want to smell like, you don't want to smell bad. So I promise you, no matter how good you look, no matter how beautiful, no matter hot or handsome, whatever, I don't know. If you smell bad, I ain't talking to you. And it's not being mean. It's just how the world is, of course. People will not want to talk to you. They will not want to be around you. If your breath stinks, people will slightly turn their nose so they don't kind of smell that, you know? And personal experience, I've been called fat for a long time. I've been called fat when I was even skinny, right? I did not like the way I looked when I was skinny. I looked like an alien. Right now I'm somewhere where I'm very manageable, where if I go down, I will definitely like the way I look. But as of right now, it's not like, oh my gosh, like, I'm just fat, I'm so ugly. I don't think that. Instead of thinking it, I do it. I work out, I eat clean. And of course, you gotta be realistic. Things don't happen overnight. And yes, I'm a guy. I do use a morning and nighttime routine. Some people find that crazy that some guys will want to use a nighttime or like a morning routine. It's just hygiene. It's just hygiene and wanting to feel good. Another thing, yeah, wait, skincare. That's a good thing. Skincare. You know, acne. I had horrible acne. Do research. Make sure you can use some products and try some. And this is really the last thing I want to say. Just embrace yourself. You don't have to accept the fact that you're ugly. Don't even use that word, right? Because that itself is just negatively impacting you. If there's one thing you really can't change about yourself, then change the other millions of things that you can change about yourself. And yes, I have gone through this entire phase of, man, I hate the way I look so much that I did things, oh my gosh. A lot of things did affect me, but I worked on myself and things came to me naturally. As I was working on myself, I started work on myself and I barely felt good about myself. But of course, as my girlfriend now came into my life and claims that I am very good looking. I still don't believe that, but am I gonna be butthurt that I don't believe it? It's nice. It's a good feeling. But it's like, I'm okay. I'm not gonna be like, oh my god, I'm ugly as fuck. I don't believe you. You're lying. No, that's just not something to do. Anyway, it's like I say in all my videos, things will get better. And I hope you guys have an amazing day and had a good time listening to me rant about, this. And if you're still watching, why aren't you subscribed? And if you have your own personal beliefs and experiences and maybe would like to say something different, or if you disagree with what I said or of anything, feel free to comment how you feel, because most likely I'm always gonna reply to every comment. I guess see you guys later. See ya. Rah! See ya. Rah! People do this thing where they slowly become someone they are not. Not all at once, just little by little. Someone says something, you adjust. Someone reacts a certain way, you adjust again. And after long enough, you look up and realize the person you've been showing everyone isn't really you. I had a gaming channel with my friends, just funny videos, stupid moments, stuff that made us laugh. And people would say, they suck, they're trash, from either comments online or people that I knew. And at some point, I listened, I stopped making them, and for a while that felt like the right call. Like, okay, maybe they're right, maybe it's not good enough, maybe these aren't funny, maybe these suck. Maybe my editing could be a little better. But those videos were so fun to make, like genuinely fun. Me and my friends would just be idiots playing any game we like, and I would record it and edit it a little bit later. And at some point, I actually sat with the idea. I just stopped doing something I actually love doing because random people, or some people in person that I didn't even like, said it was bad. Why did their opinion of something I enjoyed matter more than the fact that I enjoyed it? That was one of the moments where I stopped caring what people thought about what I was doing. And what I built after that is what I'm doing right now. So that's what this video is about. So when people tell you to be yourself, right? It sounds so easy, so simple. Easy peasy, right? But for some people, it's not. Because being yourself requires actually knowing what yourself is. And a lot of people have been adjusting to different people that they have no idea what they are like. They've been performing a version of themselves for so long that the real one feels like a stranger. If you ask them right now, what do you actually like? What do you think? What do you want? Because every answer has been filtered through what other people would think of it for so long that the unfiltered version barely exists anymore. So let's say there's a start, right? You get into a friend group, maybe someone brought you in, maybe you were new somewhere, I don't know. And you want to stay with this friend group. You don't want to lose these people that you just became friends with because you never had any friends. You're probably a loser. So you want these people to actually like you. So before you do anything, you just kind of watch what they do. You figure out what's acceptable, what's funny to them, what's not, what they think is cool, what they think is lame, and you quietly start calibrating, just being careful, because It's kind of smart, being careful, blah, blah, blah. Like, you're just reading the room. Cool. No shame in that. But then someone says something you like is stupid, and you don't say anything. And you slowly stop bringing it up. Or you stop liking it as much, or at least stop showing it around them. And then maybe you'll overhear something, someone said you're not funny, and you start holding back, you're being quieter, you're not throwing things out there as much. And then someone makes fun of what you're wearing, and you change how you dress. Each one of these is a small adjustment you are making to yourself. But then at some point, you make enough of them, and you've basically handed your whole personality over to people who never even asked for it. They didn't demand you to change. They just reacted, and you took that reaction as a reason to be less of yourself. And for that, it just kind of snowballs, because once you start adjusting, people start expecting that adjusted version. And now you can't even be yourself around them without it feeling weird. Because people would be like, you're just acting different. Like, why are you acting like this? And it's like, that's you. And so it just started with you being around these people, and now that whole personality thing just bleeds into everywhere else. And so when I think about this, I think like, some people just want to belong, right? When you want to belong to a group, their opinions feel like, I guess, facts, right? Like, if these people I actually want around are saying this, then it must be true, right? Like, they're seeing something I'm missing. So you treat their reactions like verdicts, and you keep adjusting to fit whatever verdict they gave you, over and over and over and over, until you've shaped yourself entirely around a group of people who probably don't even think about you as half as much as you think about what they think. Is that crazy? And the crazier part, right, is you're doing all of this for people who have moved on from the comment entirely. They said one thing one time and probably forgot about it the next day. And you built a whole new version of yourself around it. You gave one throwaway comment from someone in a friend group that much power over who you are. And they don't even remember saying it. And it's not even just friend groups. You see it with celebrities and creators online all the time. Someone blows up being completely themselves, weird, specific, unfiltered, and that's exactly why people love them. That authenticity, right? That's the whole thing. And then enough comments pile up saying, change this or do that, and they start, softening. They start becoming what the audience wants instead of what they actually are. And slowly they lose the exact thing that made people show up, or even what they love. And people feel it even if they can't name it, like something's different, like something's a little off. This feels kind of, like a performance. And you can always feel the difference between someone performing and someone being real. And real is always more interesting, even when it's not polished. Real wins every time, in my book at least. Now, there's a difference between people actually helping you and people just being dicks, because some people give real feedback, but they just give it terribly. And when you're young, you genuinely can't tell the difference between someone being mean and someone being honest. Someone says something harsh about you, and you either take it as complete truth or dismiss it as hate. Both are wrong. The whole skill is figuring out who actually has, I guess, your back, right? Versus who just likes watching you react. Rage baiting. I guess rage baiting would be the best way to put it. And to actually tell, look at the patterns, look at the signs. It's so easy to look at, like, people and see their patterns. Is this person always coming for you and always just, pressing your buttons, rage baiting? Or is this a one-off thing from someone who actually cares? Are they saying it publicly to get a laugh in the friend group, or are they just, being real, kind of one-on-one sometimes? Those are real good talks. Or sometimes they're not. It just really depends on that person. A real friend who has real feedback says it once and just moves on. They're not like bringing it up in front of everyone every single second, right? And what they're saying is about something that actually matters, not your hoodie, not what music you like actual stuff that affects something real. I wear shorts and hoodies, right? That's what I wear. Someone might say I need to change my style, and yeah, maybe I can, but the fact is, I like it. It's comfortable. It's mine. I spent a lot of money on these shorts and hoodies, especially the hoodies. That's a fact about me, right? Their opinion about it isn't a fact. And when you operate from actual facts about yourself instead of other people's opinions, you stop being so easy to move. Their whole comment will just bounce off of you. Like, it doesn't matter. But the problem is most people who shrink themselves don't have their facts straight yet. They haven't done that honest, assessment of themselves. They don't know what they actually like, actually want, actually believe, because they've been letting other people decide for so long. So when someone says something about them, there's nothing to push back against it with. There's just no foundation to work off of. And how you actually figure out your facts is simple, right? It's so easy, but I guess also uncomfortable. You have to sit with yourself and be real, not emotional, just factual. Do I actually like this thing, or do I just like it because the people around me like it? Do I dress this way because the people around me dress this way, or do I like it? Or am I following a trend? I don't know. Like, you can literally do that for hours. Do I like playing Fortnite? Yeah. A super simple one, right? Do I like Minecraft? Yes, I love Minecraft. Do the people I hang out with like Minecraft? No, they don't at all play Minecraft. They hate it too. But does that change anything? No, I'm just gonna play Minecraft on my free time. And so people don't even start with that assessment of themselves because they're like, I don't even know anyway, so there's no point. When you go home and you're all alone, what do? Do you talk the way you talk to people when you're hanging out with them? Do you watch the same stuff? Do you play the same stuff, dress the same way? Or even your hobbies when you go out, what do? But if you never assess what you really do, then you just become a person you know you're not. Like, you don't forget who you are, unless you have, like, dementia or something. That's pretty funny. But, like, you still know. Like, deep down, you know exactly what you like and how you actually want to be. And after some time, you know, after a while, you know, you're putting on these clothes you used to wear, and they don't feel right. They don't feel that good. But it's because you condition your mind to just go with the new things that you don't really care for. So now you're just even more lost. You're like, I kind of like it, but man, it just kind of sucks. I just changed my whole personality. And around you, everyone has accepted that smaller version of you, you know, the one that changed. They see it as the real you. If you decided to just be quiet in the friend group, then you're just that quiet guy that doesn't want to talk to people. But you kind of do, but you don't. And even when you're trying to find relationships, it could be harder because those people that you're looking for, you know, if you're being that version that other people want you to be, which is crazy to me, but if you are, then you're gonna find people that are like that. And if you don't even like yourself, you're not gonna like those people. So, like, there's a genuine cost in the long term. You stopped having opinions because you stopped trusting them. You stopped having preferences because you gave other people the power to override them so many times. You become agreeable, you know, easy, the person who never causes problems. A yes man, and people like you for that. But not for you, for how convenient you are. Even with, like, fitting in, someone's gonna ask you for money, you're gonna give them money. You don't want to say no to them, you know, you want to be cool. There's a massive difference between being liked and being actually known. Most people who shrink themselves their whole life are liked by a lot of people. Nobody actually knows them. There's nothing real to know. Just a mirror reflecting back whatever each person wants to see. You just end up a controllable little, trying to say this in a nicer way, I guess, version of yourself. I wanted to say something different, but whatever. Going along with stuff you don't care about. Pretending to be into things you're not. Hiding stuff you actually love, right? You love it. And for what? So people are comfortable around you? In the one life you get, that's the trade you're making? So when do people actually realize they've been doing this? Because sometimes they don't. They think it's normal. Usually it's when they're alone. It's like I said earlier, you know, nobody's watching, and you catch yourself hiding something that doesn't even need to be hidden. You're doing something you love by yourself, and somewhere in the back of your head, you're like, there's still this filter running. You love this game so much. Let me turn my privacy on Steam offline. Like, you don't want people to see you're playing this game you love. Maybe it's weird. Maybe it actually is a weird game. There's a lot of weird Steam games, but you know, like, it's a normal game. Maybe like, I don't know, War Thunder, something, just something. You trained yourself so well. You don't even need someone around you to shrink you anymore. You don't need someone to tell you anything. Now, you just do it on your own, out of pure habit. So it's like, you can't fix something you haven't noticed yet. Noticing is the whole first step. You gotta be a noticer. Just start doing your own thing on your own time. And you probably already do that. You know, a hobby nobody knows about. Something. A style you're trying to figure out. And you keep going until it's real enough that it doesn't need anyone's approval to exist. Until it's something you can point to and say, this is mine and I've built this. You got really good at tennis. You got really good at this. And so for me, that's what I did. I stopped making gaming videos because people said they were bad, you know. And I believed them for a while. And then I started this, just me talking, being by myself. Nobody knew about it at first. It's the same name, Wukka, but nobody's gonna look at my channel a year and a half later. When you're in middle school, high school, college, whatever, having less than a specific amount of subs or views, you look kind of cringe. To younger people, you just look cringe. You just like, why are you doing this? Nothing's gonna happen. Like, you're not gonna be popular, bro. It ain't working. So that's why with YouTube, I kept it private. Until now. I actually, built something for myself, something I can actually show off. There's really no one to tell me, this shit sucks for me to care enough, because it kind of pays me pretty good. And I'm having fun doing it, like, it's awesome. So if people are just saying stuff just to say stuff, like, who gives a shit? Who cares? So what I would say is the whole thing comes down to knowing your facts, not your feelings, your facts. What do you actually like? What do you believe in? What do you actually want? Hold those as true, no matter what anyone says. Because an opinion isn't a fact. And the moment you stop treating other people's opinions like facts, you stop giving them power to shrink you. Or in other words, you stop giving two shits. You don't care. You get one life. One. Why spend it being a smaller version of yourself so other people are comfortable? Other people, right? It's not even you. The people worth being around will like the real version. And the ones who don't, they were never really for you anyway. They were for the performance, and you can stop performing whenever you want. Like, I see people that make people do some crazy shit that, like, really ruins their life just because that specific person wanted to fit in that group. It just doesn't make sense to me, but that's how people are. But you really want to be careful with who you're listening to and what advice they have. Just really be careful with that. Anyway, if you're still watching and you're not subscribed, do it now, or you're a loser. If you want to support the channel, there's a Buy Me a Coffee link in the description, or if you're on YouTube, there's a support button. Do it now. Every person that does a personal donation, I give them like a bee. I name a bee in Minecraft and put them in a big bowl and featured on the outros of my videos on YouTube. Join the Discord. We have 1K people now, so there's a lot of people to interact with. And also follow my Twitch. I will be streaming soon. That's gonna be pretty fun. I hope you're having a good day, and I will see you guys very soon. Bye. You wake up, go outside, think, today's gonna be a great day. You meet up with your friend. 5 minutes later, you're arguing. About what? Nothing important at all. But you just love to argue, especially when you're wrong and they're right. Me and my friends will argue about literally anything. It doesn't even have to be serious at all. It could be about games, it could be about something going on in the world. It can be something so dumb, I don't even remember it like 2 days later. And someone will say something I disagree with, and I'm already defending myself before they even finish talking. And sometimes they'll say something that actually makes sense, and I can feel it. Like, I know they're right, but I just keep going anyway. Half the time, I don't even know why. I just don't want to be the one that goes, oh, you got me, good point, I'm wrong, yeah, that makes sense. Being wrong alone is one thing, like saying something in a Instagram reel comment, and they send like a rage bait gif, like whatever, who cares? But like being wrong in front of someone you actually know, and they're gonna remember it and probably bring it up later and rub it in your face, completely different thing. And I said it a second ago, and this is what people like don't want to agree with. Sometimes it's not even about being right. Sometimes, you genuinely like arguing. Something about going back and forth, finding the angle, picking apart what someone said, seeing where it goes. Those little gotcha moments are funny, and it just keeps dragging on and on and on. So when you're in an actual relationship, for me, my girlfriend will tell me, like, do you genuinely have fun doing this? Like, we'd be in a genuine argument, and I just keep going and going. And I don't say it, but like something's in my head, I kind of do, which is not good at all. That's horrible. It's not good. So your brain treats being wrong like a threat. Not like, oh, that's a little embarrassing. Like an actual threat. It doesn't matter if you're arguing about something serious or something stupid, because being wrong in front of people you actually care about or know doesn't just feel like being wrong about a fact. It feels like they're seeing something that is not that great. And your brain will do a lot of dumb stuff just to keep that from happening. Another huge part of it, is ego. Not exactly thinking you're the greatest person alive. More like you have this picture of yourself in your head. You're the person who knows what they're talking about. You make decent calls. You're not the one who gets corrected. The people that go, yeah, I know, for everything. Yeah, I know that, I know that, I know that. And every time someone proves you wrong, that picture cracks. And your brain would rather argue for like another hour than let that happen. Even when you're clearly losing the argument and just making yourself look so stupid. Like that person has been right for the last 20 minutes. Me and my girlfriend will get into it sometimes over stuff that is kind of small. Like I don't even remember half of them because they weren't really problems, and that's really what it's gonna be like for a lot of relationships. But I'll have my take on something and she'll have hers, and she'll say something that's, you know, it's fair, but instead of me just going, yeah, okay, I'll start reaching. Like if she's talking about stuff about me, I'll bring up stuff from like a year ago or like 5 months ago, and it has nothing to do with what we're even talking about. Just finding anything, and she'll look at me like, why are you doing this? And I'll be honest, I don't have a good answer for that. And the enjoying it thing makes everything worse, because when you actually like the back and forth, you stop caring about the point. You just want to keep it going. You'll say stuff with a huge reach just to have something to push back with. And the other person, they can feel that. They know. They can tell when you really stop caring about like that specific argument and you bring up just anything. And that's when it stops being a disagreement and just turns into something weird. And I think a lot of people never actually learned how to just be wrong. Like nobody's gonna sit you down growing up and be like, hey, it's completely fine to be wrong, you know, just say it and keep moving on. Most people learn the opposite. Being wrong meant losing. Admitting to being wrong meant the other person got something over you. So you just never built that habit, and now you don't even care anymore. You know when you're in an argument and it's like kind of passive aggressive and you're making like really good points and that person just cannot hold up with it? They will say anything and then be like, you're getting rage baited, bro. It's too easy. I hate that. Another thing is like when an argument kind of goes off rails and you're bringing up stuff that is like irrelevant. You know, sometimes you go a little too far. You're saying stuff that would like ruin relationships. And then a couple days roll around and you never like apologize for anything. Like I just said the worst things imaginable to my friend. And then I call him the next day and I'm like, hey, you want to go on Siege? And then he just hangs up. You know, stuff like that will just build up over time. And there are times when like people have said some horrible things in arguments that have genuinely got them killed. Like it's crazy. Like sometimes you genuinely just have to shut up. Or sometimes, you know, people just don't want to hang out with you at all. They will see you as just like this annoying little kid. But anyway, let me kind of explain what I've been trying to do for myself and my own relationships. The first thing I do, right, I let them finish talking. You will see countless debates online and the other person will talk and the other person will just butt in. Nah. Like literally go to any debate. And then the other person hits you with that, can I talk?
Whether it's a cheating partner, broken promises, or deception from family and friends, betrayal is heartbreaking. And our bodies react in ways that make it even harder to cope. To manage the shock, your mind goes into survival mode, fight or flight response, which triggers a significant increase in stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline. The symptoms that follow include anxiety, depression, sleepless nights, self-isolation, flashbacks, and a deep sense of loss. And in all this chaos, you might even wonder if you could have done something to prevent it. But the truth is, none of it was your fault. Healing from this kind of pain may take time, but you can do it. Let's talk about how you can heal gradually and start living happily. Find safety. This involves distancing yourself, both physically and emotionally, from the person who hurt you, at least for a while. And the truth is, you have to create that safe space for yourself. Set boundaries with them, even if drastic measures need to be taken, like cutting off contact completely. Think of it like this. If you've been bitten by a snake, would you keep chasing it, seeking for answers and validation? No. You'd focus on treating the wound instead. In the same vein, it's important to focus on healing rather than dwelling on the source of your pain. Mourn the loss. Many cultures set aside quality time for mourning, offering a structured approach to reflection and healing. You're not only grieving your loss, but also the future you imagined, the trust that's been shattered, and the person you were before this happened. So let your emotions flow, whether it's anger, sadness, or confusion. There's no wrong feeling in this case. Journaling, venting, or creative outlets are all healthy ways to express your pent-up emotions. Also, consider connecting with a therapist or support group to receive professional help. Take it day by day. Some days you'll feel ready to move on. On other days, you might feel stuck and question if you'll ever feel like yourself again, and that's okay. Healing isn't a straightforward journey. When you feel strong, use that day to get things done. And on tougher days, take extra special care of yourself. Let go gradually at your own pace. The key is to keep going, even on the hard days. Forgive when you're ready. The person most hurt by unforgiveness, anger, and grudges is you. Once you feel a sense of safety and have begun the work of healing, consider forgiveness. Not as a way to excuse the betrayal, but as a way to set yourself free. Start with yourself. Forgive yourself for not seeing the signs or for any choices that you regret. You're human, and we are all learning, always. Then, when you're ready, forgive them. This doesn't mean you let them back into your life or that you condone what they've done, but letting go of resentment can lift an enormous weight off of you. Think of it this way. Holding on to resentment is like drinking poison, hoping it'll hurt the other person, but it only keeps hurting you. Sometimes forgiveness is about setting yourself free and allowing space for healing. Try the Hawaiian practice of Ho'oponopono. This is a meditation that helps you feel whole again. Place your hands over your heart. Close your eyes and gently picture the person you want to forgive, whether it's them or even yourself. Slowly repeat these 4 phrases. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. Practicing this for 5 to 10 minutes daily will help you release the emotional weight you've been carrying. Remember, forgiveness is a gift you give to yourself, one that frees you from the heavy chains of hurt and offense. If you're finding this helpful, please like, share, and subscribe for more content like this. Calm your nervous system. Studies show that experiencing loss can trigger harmful emotional and behavioral patterns. When you feel the urge to escape your feelings through substances or unhealthy coping mechanisms, it's essential to manage these triggers. Find a quiet space and breathe deeply until you feel relaxed. In addition, consider taking a warm bath with baking soda, Epsom salts, and essential oils to soothe your body. Joining a restorative yoga class or getting regular massages can alleviate migraines and neck pain. In essence, prioritize self-care and treat yourself with compassion. Stay connected to the world. It's natural to want to numb the pain with distractions like TV, alcohol, or work. However, research shows that this can lead to depression and isolation because healing doesn't happen in isolation. It happens in a community. Every new connection isn't in isolation. It happens in a community. Every new connection, no matter how shallow, can help you feel less alone. Be open to new experiences by exploring friendships, hobbies, or dreams. Say yes to small opportunities that spark your curiosity. These help you recognize that life still has good things to offer, even when it feels hard to believe. Healing doesn't mean forgetting the past. It means putting it behind you and learning to live fully despite it. Gradually, rebuild trust. Healing usually involves overcoming that inner resistance to trust again. Here's how you can overcome it. Begin by asking yourself, what has this taught me about myself or my values? This might reveal the importance of setting boundaries or recognizing red flags. Jot these insights down, as reflective journaling can enhance your mental health. Focus on lessons learned, not regrets, and choose to emerge stronger and smarter from this experience. This shifts your self-esteem from a victim to a resilient overcomer. Challenge those all-or-nothing thoughts like, everyone will betray me, by reminding yourself that not everyone is the same. For example, just because a family member lets you down doesn't mean you have to cut ties with your whole family. Focus on individual actions and behaviors rather than labeling entire groups. Remember, open hearts can also heal. Believe in your heart that someday you will heal from your pain. You'll know you've reached this point when you remember those who betrayed you, not with bitterness, but with the strength to wish them well and move on. Now, it may seem like a distant dream, but with time, self-compassion, and the positive steps we discussed, it can become a reality. In the meantime, process your pain, mourn your loss, actively and mindfully take care of yourself, and gradually rebuild your life. You will surely become stronger, wiser, and ready to embrace life with renewed enthusiasm and purpose. What valuable life lesson have you learned on your healing journey? Let's talk about it in the comments. Want to learn more about what healing looks like? Watch this video. Thanks for being here.
Trusting someone takes a lot of courage, especially if you've been burned in the past. You may have had a parent, partner, or friend abandon you out of the blue. They may have done something behind your back. You may have shared something private with them and they betrayed your trust by sharing it with others, and you're left with this uneasy feeling that leads you to stop trusting people altogether. This lack of trust is often a result of betrayal trauma. The term betrayal trauma was first coined in 1991 by American psychology researcher and theoretician Jennifer Freyd. According to her, betrayal trauma occurs when the people or institutions on which a person depends for survival significantly violate that person's trust or well-being. You're not crazy, too sensitive, or overreacting, because symptoms of betrayal trauma are emotional responses to a genuine feeling of violation you experienced, and you have every right to feel wronged or hurt. Trauma takes many forms in adult life, so it's important to register potential trauma symptoms. Here are 6 signs you may suffer from betrayal trauma. Anxiety. Through careful research, Dr. Freyd has determined that how people respond to betrayal trauma depends on the person and the details of the experience. But we do see common reactions including anxiety, depression, and dissociation in victims of betrayal trauma. According to the ADAA, individuals who have experienced trauma may experience anxiety in a variety of forms, from an increase in generalized worries to panic attacks. For example, a person who suffers from betrayal trauma may experience severe anxiety when confronted by the person that betrayed them in the first place, and feels a strong desire to hide or run away. Even mere reminders of the person can cause a victim of betrayal trauma to spiral at times. Integrative trauma therapist and scholar Odelia Gretel Craybill agrees that anything that looks, sounds, smells, or feels like things experienced at the time of trauma can trigger fear that danger has returned. Just because your life wasn't in danger does not mean that what you experienced was any less traumatic. Avoidance. When someone you love hurts you or betrays your trust, you may likely want to avoid them or discard any memory of them. You may become agitated or angry whenever a reminder of them pops up, and take your frustrations out on whoever or whatever brought them to mind. According to licensed psychology and trauma specialist Dr. Rebecca Craycraft, trauma survivors often feel the pull to avoid their trauma and just move on. It's perfectly reasonable to want to move on, but when it becomes clear you are simply burying your feelings and brushing aside the pain you experienced, it becomes a problem. If every reminder becomes a trigger, It's time to seek help and process the trauma. And to process the trauma means you must master it. How? Kirchhoff says that gaining mastery over your trauma means not being triggered by things that remind you of the traumatic event anymore. Yes, it sounds easier said than done.